Hey guys, before we start this episode, I wanted to talk to you about Type 1 Lifting. So Type 1 Lifting is a clothing line that proceeds of the shirts and tanks and everything else goes to the Children's Diabetes Foundation. So this all came about with me and seeing a 5-year-old girl in the emergency department that had new onset of diabetes. So just take a look at the website. It's www.type1lifting.com. So just check it out. If you don't buy anything, that's perfectly fine. I would just like for you just to take a look and just see what we have. So like I said before, www.type1lifting.com. And guys, I hope you enjoy the show. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have a great guest across the pond. Her name's CharlotteBulpitt. How's everything going today?
Yeah, it's really good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, no complaints. It's like early morning, so I'm used to like afternoon, podcasts. So I'm like kind of not awake yet, but I'm there. So.
Oh yeah, we're good. It's like 2:00 in the afternoon here. I'm well awake.
Yeah. Awesome. So I like to ask every diabetic guest that I have, when did you get diagnosed with diabetes?
When I was 18 years old.
Okay.
So I am 33 now. So yeah, I've had it quite a while.
Yeah. So when you were at the range of 18, what was it like growing up? Like, being able to eat whatever you want, and then all of a sudden, like, it's kind of gotten a little bit stricter. What was that like?
To be honest, for me, it was a huge relief when I was diagnosed, because my diagnosis was a little bit different. A lot of people I speak to, they're diagnosed quite quickly. Obviously, the symptoms can be quite extreme and quite obvious. But I actually got ill at the age of 13, and I wasn't diagnosed until 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, even though I had the classic symptoms. So you can imagine I was in a bad way by the time I got diagnosed.
Yeah.
So those 5 years were a bit of a write-off. So my initial reaction to being told you have diabetes is like, thank goodness, that you found out what's wrong with me. Now I can start to feel better. So, it kind of felt like a blessing at the time that I had an answer, really.
That's crazy. So none of the doctors even like noticed or like checked anything?
This was down to a very, very bad doctor. I had all the classic symptoms. So initially, I started going to the doctors with kind of really severe fatigue.
Yep.
And was diagnosed with glandular fever. Although I can't remember them actually doing, I don't know if there's a specific test for glandular fever, but just from my symptoms, they said, it sounds like glandular fever. And as that went on and kind of continued over months, they then said, it's chronic fatigue, so CFS or ME. And I kind of felt that ME is one of those diagnoses where, because there's no test for it and there's no treatment, it's kind of like, go away.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got ME, you're kind of stuck with it, like, we've given you an answer.
Yeah.
But as time went on, as you can imagine, I was getting worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
I was just sleeping all the time. I missed about 6 months of school because I literally couldn't, I just had no energy.
Yeah.
No energy whatsoever. I just used to sleep and pee and eat, and that was kind of life.
Yeah.
And then it progressed with obviously all the excessive weeing, and I was drinking about 40 pints of squash a day.
Wow.
I literally couldn't walk from one room to another without like a drink in my hand. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I was going back to the doctor and saying, look, now I'm losing loads of weight. So I actually lost 3.5 stone.
So what is that, and what is that in
what is that
pounds?
in kilos? Oh, I don't know. Shall I convert it?
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Oh, no. I should have worked that out in kilos for you. It's a lot of weight.
Isn't like a stone like I think 15 to 20 pounds or something like that? Or
Yeah, there's 14 pounds in a stone.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
So, 14 pounds in a stone. 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 14 pounds in a stone.
All right, that's fine. That's a lot of weight though, especially in that long of that time that much of a time frame. So
Yeah,
I mean, you must
yeah.
have been like skin and bones pretty much.
Literally, and I had like the little pot belly from the dehydration.
Yeah.
So I literally looked like I was from a third world country. I was really like, yeah, it wasn't a good look.
Yeah, yeah.
And at that point, my doctor said I clearly had an eating disorder.
I could see them thinking that too. Yeah.
Yeah. But then my argument was, why would I keep coming to you? Surely people try to hide, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he said, you're obviously, because I did a food diary for him, because at this point I was eating from the second, I woke up to when I went back to sleep. I was just eating, because I was kind of panicking that I was losing weight. I was eating bags of donuts.
Oh my gosh.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
You can only imagine.
Yeah.
And obviously, the more I ate, the more weight I lost. It sounds like the perfect diet in some ways.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, he said, well, if you're genuinely eating this food, you must be making yourself sick. And I was like, why would I be coming to you saying, help me, if I knew I was, doing it myself? And the last appointment I had with that doctor, he said to me, this is all in your head. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. You are making yourself ill. And if you just chilled out, you'd feel much better.
That's insane. That's crazy.
And luckily, I saw a different doctor sometime later who was literally like, there is something seriously going wrong here. Like, you're clearly not well. We're going to do a bunch of tests. And if they don't show anything, we'll do a load more. Like, we're going to get to the bottom of this. And I remember thinking, oh, yes, like they're actually going to find out.
Yeah.
And by that afternoon, I was rushed into hospital. They actually, a local doctor rang me and, I don't know, was talking to me in a really strange way and was just like, Charlotte, are you really, really sleepy? Are you really thirsty? Are you this? Are you that? And I was like, yeah, I've been telling my doctor this. And he said, oh, can you just pop your mum on the phone? And what I didn't know at the time was that he then said to my mum, like, we don't know how Charlotte is still walking around.
Yeah.
She could fall into a coma at any moment, and we're waiting for her. Get her straight to the hospital now and pack a bag. Obviously, my mum didn't share that information at the time. It was like, we're taking a bag just in case,
Yeah.
And then it was. My blood sugar. Oh, again, I don't know the conversion. My blood sugars were over 40. So
that's really, really high. Like, I can't imagine, like, when you're eating all those donuts and stuff, like how high your blood sugar is. Because I used to work at a children's emergency department in Georgia, like in the States, and I would see kids coming in with like blood sugars of like 1,000. So that's like I always want to learn how to convert from like, what would you guys use for numbers to us, but I just keep on forgetting to do it. But it's like really, really high. And then we have
normal for us is between 4 and 7.
Yeah. So it's, it was probably really high, but that's 40. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, from there it was just like, go, and learning about it. And I said, when they first told me it was diabetes, I literally knew nothing. I think there was one boy in my class at school with diabetes, and I can just remember that he was allowed to eat in class, and that's all I really knew. But when they said you've got diabetes, I was like, oh, it's my fault. Like, I've been eating all this, all these sugary drinks, and I've been eating all these donuts. And they were like, no, like, this is type 1 diabetes. You cannot give yourself this. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, awesome. So obviously that was a big relief knowing they got diagnosed. And so how did you change your eating habits or your lifestyle after when you got diagnosed?
I totally changed my eating habits because I didn't have to panic eat anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to the nurses in there, I said, I hate being this skinny, like none of my clothes fit. And they were like, oh, that's going to be the least of your worries now. And I was like, oh, it's this whole fear of like, so I rapidly put on weight, but I was eating really well, and I was just being really strict, because I knew nothing about diabetes. I literally did as I was told. I got sent to a dietitian. she gave me an idea of a good healthy day of eating, and that's what I followed. I think it's kind of, as time goes on, you start to get a bit naughtier because you start to realize, like, actually I can eat that, I can just do another injection.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, that was with me too, because I got diagnosed at 34 going into my 35th birthday, so I'm gonna be 41 this month. But like, yeah, it's pretty much like when I got diagnosed, it was at my pre-employment screening at the hospital I work at. I used to work at, and so like pretty much when I got diagnosed, I was like trying to learn everything all by myself. Like I didn't know anything. I even in the medical field, I really didn't know much about diabetes. But like then after getting it, I learned a lot more. But it's like I was going on the fly, like asking other people on social media because my doctor didn't really help me out. And it's like what do I do? Or like, even the lancets, like I didn't know to change the lancets or anything like that. And it was like, I was get to the point it would be like stuck in my finger, and I'm like, okay, this I don't know if this is good. And so I literally went to like a drugstore and asked like a pharmacist. I'm like, hey, so how do I change all this? Yeah, like what do I do with this like lancet? Like what do I do? And so she literally ripped one open and like pulled the lancet out and just like pulled it out and says, oh, you can just switch it out this way and just like keep on switching it, and these are the lancets you use. And I'm like, because I thought the 5 that I got with the package last forever.
That was your lifelong supply.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, and then she's like, no, you need a box of these. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So yeah, it was definitely interesting. And then like I didn't know about I don't know if they have it in your area, but like the lancets, you could change the numbers to how much the pressure is.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it was how many times you use it.
Oh, no.
And so, like, I cranked it up to, like, 8. I think that's the max it goes up to. And just slammed into my finger. And I'm like, that one really hurt.
Why won't it stop bleeding?
Yes, I'm like, this is awful. So, yeah, it's a learning experience. So it's interesting.
But this is something that I've realised over time, is that all the things that I suppose I kind of take for granted now, some people are just not taught. Like you're just not taught the basics. Mm-hmm. And I think it kind of then goes missed because everyone just assumes you already know it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I love the people that say, oh, you're a type 1 diabetic, you're so fit. Like, no, it's not like, and you got to like educate everybody. And like when I was in the emergency department where they have the new onset diabetic kids that come in, like I would kind of like give them a heads up of like what to expect and like all that stuff. And when they go up to the floor and like all that stuff. So at least they actually get a heads up before they actually go to the floor, and they'd be like, hey, this is what's going to happen for maybe the rest of your life. So yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So you're also a level 4 trainer. So what, I don't like, so what's that in like across the pond? Cause we don't really have like level 4 or like what's the degree of that?
Okay. So level 2 is like, gym instructor. When you're level 3, you're a fully qualified personal trainer. Okay. And you can then go on and specialize in an area, which is then your level 4.
Okay.
So that's like a diploma. So you go on, and there's all different things you can do, like postural assessment and things like that. You can specialize in kind of adjusting posture. I think you can actually specialize in back pain now, because literally so many people just have back pain.
Yeah.
And luckily, one of the specialist areas is dealing with clients with diabetes and also obesity. Interesting that they put those two together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of the course is more targeted towards type 2, which I didn't mind, because I kind of felt I knew a lot about type 1, and I'd taken it upon myself to learn a lot about training and type 1 diabetes, and type 2 is something that I wasn't as clued up on. So I didn't mind, a lot of the course being about that. But yeah, so level 4 is like a specialist area. Okay,
cool. So what made you get into the fitness space?
I think realizing how much it benefited me.
Yeah.
As a diabetic, and there just being kind of a big gap there. So I can remember being diagnosed, and you get sent to a dietitian, because they tell you how important diet is. They also tell you how important exercise is, but there's no guidance. Mm-hmm. It's literally like, yeah, you should exercise. Okay. I mean, luckily, before I got really ill, before my diagnosis, I was quite into fitness, and I quite liked the gym and things like that.
Yeah.
So I had an idea about working out. I didn't have any idea about how that was going to affect my diabetes, or my diabetes would affect it. And I just thought, there's no kind of guidance for that. They don't really help you out.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of saw a gap there and thought, like, I could do this. Like, I love fitness. I want to help people. I can specialize in diabetes and clue people up a bit more.
Yeah. Awesome. So when you were like just starting doing fitness, like, would you read like Women's Health magazine to get your exercises or anything like that? Or because I know, like, back when I was a kid, when I started working out, like, I'd read the Men's Health, be like, watch like the splits and like all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do this, and and so where did you start? What did you start doing when you were?
My starting point? I think my starting point was literally machines.
Yeah.
Like, I would just go around in a circuit using all the weights machines.
Yeah.
Then the gym I went to, there was some guy that was much older guy, but was ex-military, and I can remember watching his workouts and being like, whoa, like, this guy is a machine. And I went up to him one day. I was like, would you mind if one time I just trained with you, like, just copied you? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. And then I really learned loads about kind of free weights and things like that. And I think that's when I realized I didn't like cardio, but I really like to lift.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of cardio, but I mean, I still unfortunately do it because I do like a CrossFit style workouts.
Oh, okay.
And so that's my.
I did that. I've done a CrossFit class over here once.
Yeah.
Wow. Like.
It's interesting. So the thing is, I always tell people if they start CrossFit is, it's all about pacing. So you can't go like. You can't go
I went nuts.
Yeah, you can't go full speed right off the bat because you're gonna get burnt out, and then you're gonna be absolutely miserable. So I'm like, I always tell them, like, all right, look at the workout and see where you could break and where you can like kind of slow down during the workout to recover a little bit. And it's people just still go all out right off the bat, and I'm like,
it's really I don't think of myself as a very competitive person, but I was in that, like, in that room.
Oh, yeah.
I became competitive.
Yeah.
And I wasn't giving in, but I can remember, like, the end of a class, it was full on, like, I was led on the floor, like, I can't even walk out of the room.
Yeah. I mean, I've only laid on the floor, like, 3 times out of my, like, 7-year career doing, like, CrossFit.
Really?
Because, like, I told myself, I'm like, I don't want to be one of those people just, like, flails around and be like all dramatic and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, I'm just gonna sit down and like just relax. But then like 3 of the workouts I did, I was like on the floor and like I didn't even know like what to do, to get on all fours or like what. I was so miserable. I'm like, this is such an awesome workout though.
Yeah, I think I like ached for a week.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before. There's a couple workouts I've done. I've like the next morning, I'm like, I don't even know. I'm looking down the stairs and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to... Yeah, I'm like, should I just slide down my bum? Because that's probably the best way to do it, so... But, I mean, I still love it, though. I mean, I'm not gonna quit on it, so...
And what did did you get a lot of blood sugar spikes doing CrossFit?
Oh, all the time. Well, I still do. I mean, it's... I mean, I'll get out of the gym after, like, I, like, change and get ready to go to work, and I'll be in the 300s. But obviously, that's due to... For me, it's, like, the hormone imbalance is the fight or flight. So when it's like I'm fighting, so obviously my adrenaline's going to be up and like all the endorphins and all that stuff is going to be so high. But by probably, I think by a half hour, when I get to work, it drops down a little bit. But I'll still have to take a little bit of insulin just to kind of bring it down to a normal level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I usually don't eat before I work out. So I'll work out at like 5:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
And so I won't eat, I'll stop eating around like 7 o'clock at night. And then I won't eat till like 8:30 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
I literally like eat with one eye open.
Yeah,
as soon as I'm awake, I'm like, food.
Yeah, for me, like I do. Oh, trust me, I get hungry. There's sometimes I'm going to the gym and I'm like, God, I would just want something. But I just feel like I get a better workout doing it that way compared to like eating and then feeling groggy and then trying to like work out. Because I used to work out at night too, and I used to stop eating at 7 and work out at like 8:30, and then like I would hit low blood sugars or like I'd be super groggy and I I didn't think I got the proper exercises, like the proper workout, compared to like doing it early in the morning.
Yeah.
Without eating.
Yeah, I do like morning workouts, but I mean, even if it's like a banana, I have to have something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that do that. There's a kid I'm training. He's in another state, and he's like, I have to have like peanut butter and apples before I have to work out. I'm like,
well,
whatever, man, do your thing.
Yeah.
So have
works.
it. Yeah. So going to like kind of the nutritional side, you have your nutritional certification, right?
I'm qualified nutritional advisor.
Okay.
So there's loads of, I guess it's the same over there. There's loads of weird kind of laws about what you can and can't do. So in the UK, unless you're a dietitian, you can't give a specific meal plan.
Yeah.
But you can give guidance. So you could say, this is an example of a week's food that you might want to eat.
Yeah.
But you can't say you need to eat this Monday, this Tuesday, this Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, for me, when I was training, everyone would ask me like, what should I eat? I'm like, I'm not supposed to tell you, but I recommend going on the outside of the grocery store. So that's where all the good stuff is. And they're like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, if it's coming out of a packet, it's not great.
Yeah. I had one friend that was on the podcast. She says, if your grandmother doesn't know what it is, you really shouldn't be eating it. And I'm like,
that's pretty good advice.
yeah. I'm like, that is super interesting. That, like, I never even thought of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So how did you go about getting that certification?
That was all in with my level 3. So when I did my level 3 for personal training, it included all of the kind of nutritional side of things also.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously with COVID and stuff like that, how's your training been going on during the COVID crisis?
Oh, well. I just got back in the gym 3 or 4 weeks ago now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I really struggled in lockdown. Like personally, I struggled not being able to get to the gym. So I've always used it, not just for my physical health, but for my mental health. Like I've always said the gym is my therapy. That's my bit of me time. Mm-hmm. I don't think about anything else. I just I've got my headphones on. I'm counting my reps, and it's like it's time for head rest when I'm in the gym. Yeah. So it sounds crazy, but that's like the most relaxing part of my day is being in being in the gym.
I completely agree. Yeah, like that hour and a half that I work out, it's just like I don't care how much I'm suffering. It's just me time. So
yeah, absolutely. So I did some home workouts in lockdown. Well, actually, I'll be totally honest. The first 2 weeks of lockdown, I did nothing but eat and drink too much wine. Literally 2 weeks, and then I was like, okay, this could go on for a few months, and I'm not gonna look very good coming out the other side. Yeah. So yeah, then I started setting myself some goals and giving myself a routine, because I think that's what I missed. Yeah. I've got a 2-year-old son also. And obviously he couldn't go to nursery. Mm-hmm. So he normally goes to nursery 2 or 3 times a week. So all of a sudden, me and my son are attached 24/7 because my partner was still working. So yeah, I had to work out some kind of home workouts around him, which, sometimes he would assist me. Yep. And I have a 2-year-old on my back while I'm doing a press up or something. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely helped once I kind of got into a routine and did some home workouts. It is not the same as getting in the gym.
No, but at least you can get a good sweat going on and actually use your, exactly. You just said, use your son as a little bit of weight so you can do squats, push-ups and all that stuff. And he probably loved it while you were...
yeah, he did. Yeah. He'd be I'd be trying to do straight leg raises, and he'd be hanging onto my leg.
Nice.
I'm gonna have abs of steel.
Yeah, that's awesome. So lucky for me, I've actually have a home gym too. So when I was a personal trainer, I used to take all the equipment that they were gonna throw out and bring it into my house.
Oh, amazing.
And so I have a complete setup. I have pull-up bar, barbell with 365 pounds worth of bumper plates, and I made a 2 squat stands out of a Home Depot cement and wood.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so you can bench press with it too. So it's funny, they have if you go to garage gyms or something like that, reviews or whatever, some other companies, they actually teach you how to build all these like squat racks and all that stuff out of wood.
Cool.
Yeah.
DIY gym equipment. I like that.
Exactly.
Well, funny enough, in our old house, we had a gym set up in the garage, and I used to do a bit of PT in there. And then we moved just before lockdown, a few months before lockdown, and sold everything. And then lockdown hit, and it was like, no.
Yeah, you're probably like kicking your pants, like, why did I do this?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but it's okay. I survived. But I'm definitely enjoying being back in the gym.
Yeah. So, do you still try to do a little bit of PT, like one-on-one, or are you just mainly doing online stuff?
Yeah, it's all online now. So, I haven't done one-to-ones for quite a while. I think after I had my son, obviously everything changes.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just wasn't working around having a young child. So, we launched. I say we. I've got a silent business partner.
Mm-hmm.
So about 10 months ago, we decided to launch Diabetic and Healthy.
Okay.
So this is kind of my focus at the moment, and that kind of came from. I've always had this thing. I know it sounds really cheesy, but I genuinely want to help people.
Yep.
And I think seeing all the struggles that people have with diabetes, although when I was doing one-to-ones and things, I did have some diabetic clients. Generally, I was just training Joe Public. And even when I was training diabetics, I kind of felt like, yeah, but this is my time, and I'm only helping one person, and I can only help one person at a time. And I really wanted to be able to reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you've got to go online for that, haven't you? It's the only way. So I'm kind of on a mission to make living with diabetes easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can be.
Yeah.
It's especially on social media, you see people's struggles, and there's some people that literally see their diagnosis as the end of their life.
Yep.
They see it just as a death sentence, or they say I can't do this and I can't do that and I can't do this, and you're like, why not? Why can't you?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we were saying earlier, I think so many people just aren't even taught the basics, and just with small changes straight away their life would start to feel easier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when I got diagnosed, my A1C was 11.5, and then I brought it all the way down to 5.8 within 9 months. And then obviously 1 year I just ate like an a-hole and decided to eat whatever I wanted to, and I went back up to the 7s, but I'm trying to get back to eating healthier, and they have a restaurant down the street from my house where they have these these ice cream desserts, and it's gosh, and my wife and I are like, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's go. So it's gosh, just killing me.
Take loads of convincing.
Yeah, I mean, anything with cookie dough in it, I'm just forget it. Game over. Game over. It's okay, but I'm trying to get more strict and actually drop my A1C down to a normal a 5.8 or whatever. So it's.
I think mine's sat around 6 at the moment, which I'm
hell yeah, I'll take that all day.
I'm happy with 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, very cool. And so, how do you with your Diabetic and Healthy program, how do you get your clients, and what's the intro to them starting out, and do you do weekly meetups?
At the moment, we've literally been kind of audience building and reaching out and finding out what people want, and where areas need need more help, really.
Yeah.
So we've been doing I do a weekly podcast, and again, a lot of those episodes are based on people's feedback. So if people say to me, we really need to know a bit more about nutrition, then I've got a diabetes specialist dietitian who is on board with Diabetic and Healthy, and she comes on and she'll, kind of talk about the areas that people are struggling in. I interview various people with diabetes, mainly more active people, and talk about how they manage their blood sugars.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a couple of Facebook groups. So I've got Diabetic and Healthy Community. That one's growing really nicely at the moment, and it's a really, really friendly group, and I love that, because I have come across groups where people are just
so nasty
to each other. Right way.
Yeah. when everyone's so nasty to each other, it's just like, why are you doing this? Like, are you just miserable yourself and like jealous?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I have, luckily, I think I've only removed 2 people from the group because I've
good.
looked at what they've said and gone, no, there's no need for that. Like, and I will always message and explain exactly why. Like, that's not what this group is about. So you just take that opinion somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because there's ways of saying things, isn't there? Like, so yeah, there's that one, and there is also Type 1 Fit, which is reasonably new, but it's for people that are more, either they're just starting out in kind of their fitness journey and they want a bit of guidance that way. But yeah, they're going really well. And then there's my Diabetic and Healthy on Instagram. So I always share like random, I think today's was about stretching or something like that.
Yeah,
so
I saw it this morning. Yes, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so some random fitness tips, and then, lots of different things about diabetes and stuff like that.
Very cool.
So, yeah, just building that up. And then later this year, I can't say too much about it yet, but later this year, we are launching a program for people that want their lives to be easier with diabetes.
Oh, very cool.
And that's going to cover, kind of, not necessarily fitness as such. It's not like if you want to get super fit, but it's if you want to move more, if you want to be more active and get the benefits of that, because straight away you start moving more, you start regulating your blood sugars, don't you? So, and then all the kind of guidance and tips alongside that of how they manage their blood sugars around kind of changing their lifestyle, and there'll be the nutrition side as well. So that's really exciting. That's what's kind of coming up.
Awesome. So with your podcast, so what made you get into the podcast space?
Honestly, my business partner. Okay. He's the big business brain. And yeah, I'll be honest, I'd never listened to a podcast. I wasn't even sure what a podcast was. And he said to me, like, he sent me these links. I was like, listen to these and see what you think. And I was like, where do you find these? Like, when do people listen to these? He was like, I always listen to podcasts when I'm driving and stuff like this. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, instead of listening to rubbish on the radio, you can actually listen to something you want to listen to.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just seemed like a really good way of reaching people and helping people on a big level without actually taking up that much time. It's like an hour or so, isn't it? A quick bit of editing and it's out.
Yeah, I love it. So what have been the struggles for starting your podcast and like recording? What have you seen kind of like a bump in the road a little bit?
I think more than anything, it's just been when I've had lots of episodes kind of in the bank, as it were. Yeah. And I thought, I've got loads left. Like, we're okay. And then I've had like a really busy few weeks and I'm like, we have nothing for Monday. Yeah. That's been my only thing. So it's literally just been time. In terms of content and things like that, again, every time I think, oh no, what am I going to do, in 3 weeks' time when these ones are done and stuff like that, just something always keeps coming up. Yeah. And whether that's something on, it might be someone messages me on Instagram or, something pops up in one of the groups on Facebook and I'm like, that would make a great episode. Mm-hmm. Like, because as soon as you see someone has a struggle or a question and then loads of other people are like, oh yeah, me too. It's like, right, podcast. Yeah. For me, my hiccups have been because they just started in January, and so I have 2,200 downloads so far since January, and so mine is like scheduling people and they're ready to go and then they flake out. Oh yeah. And then I'm like, all right, and then I once again like the bank thing, having a bunch of people in the bank, you're like, oh, I got it, that's fine. And then all of a sudden you get close, you're like, oh man, I don't have anybody. And then you finally get somebody. And then the connection issues is another thing. Because we do Zoom, everyone's doing Zoom right now. So, and then the one other thing is I always do a podcast called The Liftoff where I just talk about me or the week or talk about some news. And I sometimes just don't have anything, and when I do it, it takes me 20 times to just start it, and it's
I do so much better talking to like people like you or like anybody else, because you know you
yeah,
give
I
me.
definitely enjoy the interviews more than the episodes where it's just me waffling on. Like, I'll make a few notes, but then so many times I'm like, no, I don't like how that sounded, and I go back. Whereas in an interview, you just kind of flow, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I've actually met some like this is like another reason why I wanted to do it, because I want to learn from everybody else, like diabetics and non-diabetic trainers or like anybody, and I love it. I mean, it's so interesting meeting other people from like different countries and different walks of life, and just seeing what their experiences are, and that's one of the reasons why I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, how often do you get to, like, talk to people in other countries if you're not doing this? Like, it doesn't happen, does it?
No.
But no, I've been really lucky. Like, the podcast has really taken off. It charted in the UK, USA, Canada, and India.
Nice.
And it's been downloaded in over 100 countries now, which is just, like, crazy.
It's amazing. Like, I'll see it on my Anchor app, and it's like, who wants to listen to me in Brazil or like, you know, in like some like weird, like some other country? You're like, really? Like,
how cool is that?
Yeah, it's like, I love it. I think it's awesome. Like, I just to get the news around. I mean, because there's not a lot of diabetic fitness or podcasts at all. So it's like, we're like one of the very few people that have one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, type 1 lifting, like, you've got a real niche as well, haven't you?
Yeah, my wife was like, this is like a really, really tight niche, and I'm like, I know, but, you know, I'm a diabetic.
There's a lot of people in the world.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that want to learn how to work out, and they're diabetics, so, and I get questions, like, all the time about, like, supplements or anything like that, and, like, you know, I'm not a big fan of taking supplements that much. I just take like creatine and a pre-workout, and that's really it. And like, I don't really take like powdered protein. It's just like all whole foods based. And I'm like, I really don't do this, but I mean, these are a couple of the products you might want to look into, but just do your research before you do it, because I'm not telling you to take this. I'm just telling you this is one of the options.
I think it's always the thing to stress to people, isn't it? That like, you should be getting all this out of your diet. And if you really feel you need something extra, then you could try this.
Yeah.
But it's when people are, you know, I do take protein shakes, and it's just for convenience. Like, I do try to get as much protein in as I can.
Yep.
But again, having a small child, working, you know, having a tight schedule, sometimes, you know, it's easy to make a protein shake, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when people are thinking, I can have a shake instead of a meal.
Yeah,
like,
you can't do that.
It shouldn't work like that.
Yeah. So.
And then when, so I used to bodybuild before I had my son.
Yeah.
I did it for like a year. It was cool. But yeah, I mean, then if I hadn't been taking shakes as well, like, I don't know how I'd have got the protein in.
Yeah, exactly. And I was
already having like 6 meals a day.
Yeah, and you did 3. I think I read on your blog you did 3 competitions in 1 year.
Yeah.
So what was that like, you know, training and like diabetes control? Because obviously you're going to be like bulking, then slimming down, like all that stuff, and then especially doing it 3 times in 1 year. Did you have to like bulk up 3 times and like slim down every time, or how was that like?
The way I did it, so I competed once in like March time, and then my next 2 competitions were a week apart.
Oh, okay.
So it was easier in one sense, and it was hell in another, because it meant I had to do like 2 peak weeks back to back, which was killer.
Yeah.
So I did it like that. But yeah, blood sugar wise, like to achieve the look that you want, your blood sugars have got to be good.
Yeah.
They've got to be good. And someone said to me, I think it was someone in like the medical profession, said, oh, you're when I was cutting, they were like, oh, you're obviously abusing your insulin to lose weight. And I was like, no, because then I'd lose muscle. Like, if I was running my sugars high, I'd be wasting all this muscle that I've just worked months to build.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they were, we butted heads a bit on that. But so I had to pay such close attention to my blood sugars in prep, because they had to be good.
Yeah.
You know, they had to be good for me to achieve what I was trying to achieve. Definitely challenging when you're eating like 6 large meals a day.
Yeah. So did you have a CGM on you the whole time while you were doing it, or?
No.
Oh, geez.
No. So yeah, this was like, finger pricks a go-go.
Yeah. So how many times would you like prick your finger throughout that whole like every day?
Well, it would be at least 6, 12, maybe 14. Yeah, maybe 14 to 20 times, I suppose.
Wow, that's insane. That's crazy.
that was bruised fingertips.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I think the most I've ever done in one day was like 8.
Yeah.
So, and it was funny because I was like pricking my fingers all the time, and this guy at the gym, he's not even a diabetic. His coworker was a diabetic, and he's like, "Hey, don't prick the tip of your fingers. Just go to the side of your fingers and do it that way." And I'm like, "Oh," and he's like, "Yeah, so your nerve, so the nerves, so the nerves of your fingers won't be like dead, and like you won't have like any feeling in your fingers." And I'm like, God, that's a genius idea. Why didn't I think of this?
Why hasn't no one told me this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy like that you have to prick your finger like 14 times a day, just like during bodybuilding. So. Yeah. And you said, and like I believe it said you're not going to do any more competitions anymore.
No, I'm not. So for lots of different reasons, really. I mean, first of all, my last 2 competitions, a few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. And I was actually pregnant when I was competing. Oh. Which is crazy. Yeah. First of all, I didn't think I could get pregnant. So I'd been told I probably couldn't conceive naturally. Yeah. So getting pregnant wasn't something I was concerned about. Yeah. And then the fact that you can fall pregnant when when your body fat is that low is like also crazy, because loads of women kind of lose their periods and it really affects their fertility competing. Yeah. So yeah, that was crazy. If I hadn't found out I was pregnant, I no doubt would have booked another competition. Yeah. But it definitely, although I learned a lot from competing, and I'm really pleased that I did it, it didn't do my mental health any good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely developed body dysmorphia, and then was just very, very judgmental of myself because I think I went from stage condition to being a heavily pregnant woman. Yeah. It was a real struggle for me, and then having a kind of post-baby body and still seeing all these pictures of these girls that I competed with. Mm-hmm. It just didn't do me any favors. Yeah. So how did you handle kind of figure be with a body dysmorphia, be like, oh, it's okay to have this body after a baby, or, what was it like trying to get back to being like, it's okay to look like this? I think it helped that I was quite aware of these conditions, and I'd had clients who had eating disorders and body dysmorphia also. Mm-hmm. And I think that I kind of recognized it in myself was the main thing, because if I hadn't, that's when it can kind of snowball, I think. But yeah. The time that I noticed really obviously that I had body dysmorphia was my last show, and I was competing in 2 categories, and I went out for my first category and came backstage. My partner was backstage, and he was like, oh, look, I got these pictures. And I literally looked at his phone and went, who is that? Like, and it was genuine, because what I was seeing in that picture was like nothing like I was seeing in the mirror. Yeah. He was like, are you crazy? Like, that's you. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's got to be like the lighting, or I couldn't accept that this was a picture of me, which was a really bizarre feeling. But I think, on reflection was when I started to think, like, that's not normal. Like, obviously how I'm seeing myself is a very different, mm-hmm. different thing to what other people are seeing. And then, like I said, I definitely struggled kind of post-baby. But as much as social media can make it worse, there's actually a lot on social media now that is all about kind of normalizing, yep. Post-baby bodies and stretch marks and cellulite and mm-hmm. things like this. So I went through and unfollowed, not in a nasty way, just it wasn't helping me.
Yeah.
So unfollowed all the kind of, fitness competitors and bikini girls, because all I was doing was comparing myself to them. And I did start to, follow more of these accounts that are all about normalizing a woman's body and things like this. And I think I just put some time into getting my head around it's okay.
Yeah.
And actually, I wouldn't change my body because, I produced my son.
Yeah.
And it's such an achievement that I was like, I shouldn't feel bad for like having some stretch marks or not having a tight tummy anymore and stuff like this, because look what I made. Like,
yeah, exactly. You have a beautiful, a great, like a 2-year-old that's awesome, thriving. And, and also my wife, she follows like a bunch of people, like not in the fitness space, but like she's a blogger. So she has like other bloggers she follows, and they did was it last year or something like that? They took a picture of their after baby pictures of like their like extra skin, like stretch marks and stuff. I had saying like, listen, everything, this is okay to have, you're still beautiful, you have a beautiful kid, a loving husband, so, I thought that was a huge like benefit for people that are struggling with especially with like body dysmorphia and stuff like that, like saying, it's okay to have this.
I did just a really short video on my Instagram, probably only a few weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And it's literally me standing posed like I would for, a picture in fitness gear. And then me relaxing and everything relaxing, just to show like you can't compare yourself to someone that stood sucking everything in and posing. Like, we all do it.
Yeah.
No one wants, their picture taken when they're in an unflattering position. But it was just to show, look, you can look like this, but actually, I've still got loose skin, I've still got stretch marks, I've still got cellulite. Like, that is a normal body.
Yeah, and there's another program called Photoshop where they can do wonders for you, so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get a kick out of, like, all, like, the younger fitness, Fitspos, whatever they call them. So, like, the one thing that irritates me is obviously they're like posing while their workouts, like of course they're gonna show their butt like right in the camera, like, and it's just like blatantly obvious why they're doing this, and it's like does it really help out, your clientele or your fan base to do?
Are you showing how great your butt looks in those leggings?
Yeah, exactly. And like you're doing some of the workouts, but you're literally like, I've seen girls like literally look at the camera just to make sure if their butt's in the right spot and like during the workout.
And it's like, actually your form's totally wrong, but you're sticking your chest and your butt out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I just sit there and I'm like, God, like I can't imagine, like it must be so easy to be like a fitness model as a girl, like in her young 20s. Like just like all you do is just stick your butt out or, just pose, or like some of them don't even show workouts. They just do little poses in their bathing suits.
They just post. But have you seen how many followers they have?
Yeah. And it's insane. But here's the thing though. Sometimes big followers don't equal big money or like, supplements. Because like I've heard
it's about quality followers. And,
I mean, I've heard of stories of people that have like 10,000 followers and they're making more money than like a person with 1 million followers. Or like the people with like 100,000 followers, they're still doing a side job like waitressing tables or something like that, just to pay the bills, because all they're just doing is like just posing.
Yeah, your followers have got to be relevant, haven't they? And they've got to be interested in what you're doing other than just your butt.
Yeah, exactly. So you have a decent amount of followers on Instagram. So how did that start like picking up for you?
That was actually just really organic, I think. I think with the diabetes world, you do, you look on some people's accounts and literally that all they follow is people with diabetes.
Yeah.
And then, it shows, doesn't it, like suggestions of who you might follow. And all mine have come really, just really quite naturally. A lot of them, I always mention Instagram when I do the podcast. So I've definitely got followers from that. Then you get kind of a crossover between Facebook and Instagram as well, don't you? And
yep.
The Facebook page, again, grew really well. I think it's got about 5,000 likes.
Wow.
So I've got some followers from that.
Well, it'll be 5,001 after this one, so.
Way. I think I've only got like maybe 1,300 followers on Instagram, which is not, people have like hundreds of thousands, don't they? But
yeah.
But my followers are very engaging. I get tons of messages, and I keep having to apologize for not getting back to people.
Yeah.
But again, this is why I do the podcast, because I'm like, I can't sit and reply like all day long to all these different random questions, but I can put it in the podcast. So if you want to listen to a podcast, like, I will answer your question.
Yeah, there's a time someone answered me a question, and I actually did a podcast episode for him, and I tagged him on Instagram, be like, hey buddy, this episode's for you, pretty much. So,
yeah.
and he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, So, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's probably like 5-10 minutes long, but hopefully you get something out of it. So
yeah, definitely. But it's easier that, and then reaching more people than keep answering the same questions over and over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. And the cool thing with yours is, even though you have like a decent following, not a big following, but I mean, you have engagement like pretty much the whole time on every single post. So, which is huge, because some people don't even get that.
Yeah. I've seen people with a heck of a lot more followers than me, but if I look at their posts, I'm like, but why? What, people aren't engaging with you? Like, so yeah, I would rather have fewer people, but they're relevant. They're obviously interested in what I've got to say for some crazy reason.
Yeah.
But I love that they engage. That's what you do it for, isn't it? You want to help people. You want people's questions.
Yeah, I think people in the diabetes space that are like doing stuff that you and I are doing are just like genuinely they want in their heart, they love helping people out, because I've heard that so many times of like people, like the main thing was like, I started Type 1 lifting is to show people with diabetes that they can do amazing things and help other people out, and say, look at what this guy's doing, look what this girl's doing, and I think all of us love helping people out, which is amazing. And especially even the diabetes community, like if someone has a question on someone's Instagram page or something else, like you'll have like 15 people responding back to you.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have, when I was diagnosed, I don't even think I had the internet. I definitely didn't have any kind of social media.
Yeah.
And I think I could have learned so much more so quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
You can literally hop on and go, have you ever had this? Or what do you do when this happens?
Yeah.
But yeah, it would literally be, I'll wait till next month when I'll talk to my diabetes nurse or whatever. And although I massively value my diabetes team, and they've always been amazing, it's just not the same as speaking to someone who's diabetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they only know a certain amount of stuff from like what they've learned in a book or from talking to other professors and stuff like that. They don't have like the experience that you and I have.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Living it day to day is very different.
Yeah, and you're thinking about diabetes pretty much 1,000 times a day, which is like insane.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, and it's like, my wife's like, why are you making diabetes like you? And it's like, well, it kind of has to be me, because I think about it all the time. It's always around me. I'm always like struggling. I'm not always struggling, but sometimes I struggle with like just getting my numbers down or getting them back up. So it's like a constant battle every single day dealing with diabetes.
Yeah, it's always there.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting close to the end. So I have 3 questions for you. So what are the goals that you want to achieve before the year's over?
Oh. The goals that I want, personally or in business?
Oh, anything. Personal, business. You actually do both. Heck, why not?
Okay. Okay. Business-wise, I just want to get the program ready and launched and out there, and see people getting results on it more than anything.
Yeah.
So that's, by Christmas I got some people on the course and getting some great feedback. That would make this year not such a mess.
Yeah.
Because 2020's been crazy. Personally, I don't know. I guess I'm only just kind of getting back into really lifting again and feeling stronger and things like that. So yeah, just feeling really healthy and strong again, because probably since before having my son, I haven't although I've trained a lot, I haven't really worked on strength.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's kind of addictive, isn't it? Once you start to feel stronger, you want to get stronger and stronger. So yeah. Definitely just continuing to feel stronger. Yeah, like
my thing is I want to lift the world, pretty much. Just lift everything I possibly. Because if you notice my Instagram page, from like the beginning to now, like my weight has gone like through the roof.
Amazing.
So, which is crazy. I would never even think about like lifting like the numbers that I'm lifting now, especially being at
I've seen your videos and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and especially being a 40-year-old man turning 41. So I've never lifted this much ever in my entire life, which is awesome.
It's amazing, and it looks amazing because it's not like you're built like a strong man.
No.
Do you know what I mean? When you see a massive guy lifting a massive amount, it's like, yeah, that's impressive, but seeing a guy of a kind of an average size lifting massive weights is like so cool to see.
Yeah, and plus I'm 6'6" too, so like I'm a lot taller than most people.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot harder.
Get that weight a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, please get up. There we go. So awesome. So the second question we got is, what is your favorite book that you like to read? Like, it could be fiction, fitness wise, or whatever. What's one that you kind of like go back to all the time and reread?
Oh, do you know, this is a really random one. It's not diabetes, it's not fitness, and it's called The Monk's Guide to Happiness.
I've heard of that one.
Oh, I love it. So it's all about kind of mindfulness and a bit of meditation and things like that. But it is just, I rarely get time to read.
Yeah.
Or I start books and then my concentration isn't great, so I just don't get into them. But this was literally like, I couldn't put this book down, and I was like making time to read this book.
Yeah.
And it sits by my bed, and every now and then I kind of revisit it. And it kind of taught me a lot about slowing down a little bit as well. We're just kind of in this rat race, aren't we? And we're, chasing our tails a lot of the time. And
Yep.
Yeah, it taught me a bit about meditation and things like that. And that's, just been a big help to me. So yes, The Monk's Guide to Happiness, if
Nice.
anyone wants to give that a go.
So do you like breathing or anything like that, or like, not Wim Hof, or like just like, controlled breathing, like in the nose, like out the mouth, kind of like meditation?
Yeah. I although I go through stages where I'll be really good and I'll make time for it, and then I'll go like weeks and be like, wow, I can't remember the last time I just sat and went.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I hear you. I was trying to get into meditation. It was just like feeling great, and then like it fell off the boat, and I was like, whatever. I mean, I'll try to get back to it.
Yeah.
So it's just time. So all right. So the last question, or actually the second to last question. So, what would you tell a new diabetic what to expect from now on?
I would say don't expect perfection, and if you're trying to achieve perfection with your numbers, you're really going to frustrate yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay for it not to be perfect. Just go for good.
Yeah.
Like, just aim for good, and what works for you and your lifestyle. Like, some people have perfect numbers, but they don't have a life.
Yeah.
And personally, I know what I'd rather. I'd rather have good control and do the things I enjoy and eat the things I enjoy. So yeah, don't be kind of aiming for this straight line of blood sugar, because it's not realistic.
Yeah. Awesome. And then the last question. So where can people find you if they have any questions or just want to reach out to you to do your program or whatnot?
Cool. Yeah. So the website is diabeticandhealthy.com. It's Diabetic and Healthy on Facebook. And as I said, there's those two groups as well. So if you find the page, you will also find the two groups. On Instagram, it is diabetic_and_healthy. And people are more than welcome to email me if they have any questions, if they want to get a heads up when the program's coming out, things like that. And it is just Charlotte@diabeticandhealthy.com.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. And like, this is one of my favorites. So I love
amazing.
it. So yeah, and it was awesome. You're my third person from across the pond. So I have one person from England, and I had two from South Africa. So.
Well, this is my first podcast interview. This is the first time
Really?
I've been like on this side. Yeah.
Wow. So what did you think?
It was cool. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good,
really
good. Awesome. Well, once again, thank you very much for doing this, and I will talk to you later.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
All right.